Hello everybody, this is Make It Better, and today we're doing what if Deku was a mutant part 5. With all that said, sorry for the long wait. Very long wait, I must say. I'm very sorry about that. So, here we go. Zuko is walking out of the hallway as he's taking steps by steps, and each and every single step is making an echo towards the end. And everybody's looking back, weighing on what he will look like on his outfit. And when he finally comes out and show everybody what he's wearing, some are, well, disappointed at the very least. And let me just show you the picture. He came out wearing a mask and a coat, which most of them are very disappointed because they were expecting something else. But Zuko ignored them all, and he stood by someone else that was wearing a coat. He looked over, nodded, and Tokoyami nodded back. And yeah, basically, now All Might explain what he's doing for the classroom. As he's saying that they're going to do teams by a team versus heroes versus villains, basically. As he showed out the box and all this. As he was doing it and having everybody sign up for the teams, and about half of them have come up and made their own teams, Zuko came up and asked All Might if he could do this assignment by himself, which All Might seems off-put by this kid's approach, and asked the young man, why would you do such a thing? This is a team battle. And Zuko said, I get that, but I'm trying to be a underground hero, and the best way to for me to train is against multiple people at once. But All Might stays true to himself and deny him of this. He's had to work with someone in the group, which Zuko said, oh, okay, you're the teacher, I guess I can't go against it, as he goes back to the group, as his name was called out as well as others. Now for the teams. He is not in the first group. He's actually the fifth. If you guys do not know, I actually put a video up in my channel on what their teams were originally in canon. And the fifth team that came up was Tokoyami and Tsuyu. I switched those two around. Now Tokoyami is with Uraraka, and Zuko is with Tsuyu. Man, it's really hard to breathe. Now, and they're going against Kirishima and Sero. They are the villains, of course, and Zuko with Tsuyu are the heroes. Tsuyu asked for the plans and what to do during this time, which Zuko asked her if what's her quirk, and he'll find a way to make it work. But she explained that she's a frog and she has all the qualities of a frog, which Zuko said, okay, alright. So when we get to inside, you'll be the... She said, I'm gonna be the extraction. Okay, I get it. Zuko said, no, I'm gonna be the distraction. You're gonna be the one to go straight towards the bomb. In my calculations, during all these time with every single bomb, they were close to a window, almost at the top. And I'm assuming you can stick to walls. As she said, yes, I can. Zuko said, great. If you could, can you go and climb to the top and start from there for you to find the bomb faster? Which Tsuyu agrees to. And when it started, Zuko started walking down the hallway. Oop. Tsuyu is up in the top and down in a very small area. In place of Tokoyami, it's actually Zuko. He finally let go of the cloak that was covering him. It was more of a cape than a coat, but it just made it look like that. When he finally took it off, it was an outfit of a black tee. He has handcuffs on his arms and his legs, and a black pants, skinny jeans of your sorts. As he's walking down the hallway, this is the only picture I could find. He sprout out his two tails, actually just one tail at the very beginning. And since it's so dark and no one can really see, they see flashes of black and red light coming around in a line and just whipping around in the building. And he's just making a ruckus just for Kirishima and Sero to get worried. At that time, they both decide to get that. Well, Kirishima decided to go down ahead without telling Sero. Sero took the chance and just stayed there to lay a trap for anybody else. Kirishima is running down the hallway, expecting, and the noise itself is getting louder and louder to the point where Kirishima finds the source, and it's Zuko. Zuko finally sees him, smiles, but since he's wearing a mask, he has a mask, of course, like in Tokugyo, with the teeth showing and one eye shows and the other eye is somewhat covered. As Kirishima was a little scared, but crack his knuckles and start fighting against Zuko. Zuko, by this point, is dodging each and every punch that Kirishima is throwing. Zuko is telling him, why you keep throwing punches? Don't you know any kick moves? Which Kirishima didn't think of that. And that gave him just enough seconds where Zuko whipped his tail around, hitting a Kirishima on the back, pushing him to the wall, making him get stuck. And by this point, he does not know the common sense of turning his quirk off, which Zuko took his chance. He dashed forward towards Kirishima when he's stuck on his wall and pushed him through the other side. Kirishima felt so tired by this point because that's the longest he ever had his quirk go over his whole body. Zuko, during this time, did a bunch of hand movements that was so hard to tell what's going on really, which Kirishima was so confused he couldn't focus on one point, so he just blindly started punching. Zuko took this moment, wrapped the capture tape around Kirishima's head, and then using it as like a Sero's tape or even Aizawa's scarf, and using it to wrap around Kirishima to a point where he's covered in the whole tape, as in like a cocoon. By that point, he's fall over and deemed captured. Which Kirishima, when he finally opens his eyes, he feels what he is in, and well, he turned off his quirk. Zuko nodded to him that just stay quiet as he went over for Sero. By this time, Suyu had found the location, but during all the rackets and Sero being more paranoid and tried to actually win this time, he chose to what was it? Cover the whole bomb and have it levitate, kind of, but it's hanging on all of his tapes. So if one misstep, it will drop, and that will technically mean that the bomb have gone off. So Suyu is just waiting for a perfect time for him to leave the area for she can touch it. But here comes Zuko, running down the hallway, lights flickering on and off at certain points. Zuko is perfectly drawing in feathers of his quirk, mutant powers, to break a few of the lights to make noises. And during this time, it's just showing on the cameras flash and bits of Zuko running by it, and then lights turn off like nothing happened. They can't see what else is going on. But they still have audio, and they hear the steps and him breathing heavily running towards the area. When he finally entered to one door and sees that Sero was prepared for anybody, so he threw a bunch of his tape towards Zuko, which Izuku actually grabbed and pulled. It, Sarah wasn't expecting him using his own tape against him, get pull forward and towards Izuku. Feet by inches to centimeters, Izuku used up the momentum and not giving away, punched Sarah down on his, well, arm because he blocked somehow, into the ground, giving a little indent on the cement. Zuko, taking this opportunity, using his tape and tried to wrap him up, but Sarah is more used to his tape, started to use it as well, and so they have a little back and forth at this time, hand to hand, not using his own tail for this moment, until he heard Hero Team wins. Sarah stops and almost got hit by Zuko uh, when that announcement came out. Zuko's fist is like centimeters away from Sarah's face, which scared him enough to step back. But when he looked over to the bomb, see it's let down safely. But Suyu was the one that touched the bomb and unraveled all of the other traps along with it. After the whole thing, they were taken back into the camera room, and everybody was surprised and shocked on how quick that all happened, and that only took 2 minutes. 1.5 minutes with Kirishima, and the other half, 30 seconds with Sero. It was one of the fastest and almost the best because throughout the whole thing, no one said a word. No hero team, not Tsuyu nor Zuko said a word throughout the whole thing, which was very clever. And he said, and All Might is saying this to them. He also asked who is a. He said that Zuko Midoriya is a VIP. Would anybody like to answer on this? Which Momo has been the one the whole time, just for this chance, and she says that Zuko is a VIP for these many reasons. Not only that he took the account of his teammates and their quirks, but also his opponents and how they would have fought against him. He's using the lights in the hallway to make sure that they are distracted and unable to see in the dark. As she keeps saying some more and more things, Zuko kind of appreciates this, and he's all in his outfit where no one can tell. But after this little announcement, she has to go up and do her thing, and it went kind of well, somewhat. But after that, and they are in their computer room, All Might asked who. He said that Momo is the VIP, and would anybody like to answer why would she be? Which Zuko raised his hand, giving her the shadow of no doubt that, well, because that she had a terrible, well, not great of a helpful partner, but she actually went ahead and made a trap with more plans, backup plans, I assume by her way of using her quirk, which she was doing this. Moving on to the next scene, All Might runs towards to the, well, to run away because his timer was about to run out, and everybody else was still surprised and very happy to have to. Sorry, I'm just tired right now. To be in the class with All Might, and they're very grateful. Now, moving on to the next scene. After everybody was leaving and Zuko was talking with he came back from using the restroom, and he was surrounded by everybody that he fought against. Sero, Kirishima, Mina, Sato? No. Ojiro. as they are talking to him, saying that their quirks and their names. Which Shizuku said, okay, let me get this straight. Your name is this and that, as he said to all of their names. Suyu came up and said that her name is this, but she likes to be called Suyu or Asui. I'm not sure which one it was. I think it was Asui. Yeah. And he just turns over and talks to his friend. What was his name? Sorry. Toroki. Some of the girls comments that the two hottest guys in the classroom are very close friends. And don't you think that they would be a perfect match? As they gossip about that. Which Momo kind of blushes that she knows these two very well, and, well, some things are somewhat adding up. Which Ida just tells them all to not gossip and actually talk to them, and you'll see that they're actually more than just regular friends. They're more like brothers to me, to them and to each other. So that goes on. Moving on to the next scene. It's been a week going on. No. To the next scene, he was actually trained after everybody left and went home. Momo talking about her school life and how she was being friends with most of her classmates, which her parents are very grateful. Her father, not being there very often, is very happy to see her all smiles and no bad news. As she talks about two people, well, one person in particular, and he thinks it's the first person that she liked. And he's just putting things together and thinking how he could help her out on this situation. And he thought of an idea on maybe as he says it out loud to Momo, maybe we should start and throw a party for your classmates and have them come over in our home. Which Momo said, but it's a little too early for that for school. How about like next month, or because she's like somewhat against it, but she wants to, well, show off some of her outfits for someone, of course, which her mother knew what she's thinking, and her father knows what she's trying to do because they think the same. Moving on to another scene of the night, Zuko is training with Nezu, and Nezu asking him about the day, and Zuko explained that he had to wake up and gave Aizawa a hug, which Nezu kind of chuckles by this because Aizawa would never do that with anybody, nobody at all, but Zuko, and asked him if he gave him the coffee, which Zuko said, yes, I have. And what's his reaction to the coffee, may I ask? And Zuko said he enjoyed it very calmly, to a point where he used the whole class period for drinking the coffee. Which Nezu said, great. I'll add that on your wish list for this month. Zuko said thank you as he gets hit from behind with 3 arrows and a huge explosion coming out of nowhere as he gets onto the floor and kind of breathes, coughing off whatever was on his back as he took them off, and Nezu explaining, man, this is why you need to be more of focused on your surroundings. You could never have saw that coming if you paid attention. Which Zuko said, I did pay attention, but I just did not see that you were planning to do that too. And where was that explosion for? As a building is falling on him. Moving on to the next scene on the morning. Everybody's going into class and they're meeting, they're talking, and everybody's having a good time. During a few of their classes, everybody's getting more and more used to each other. And Aizawa did not do what he did on the first day of class, but he is expecting a coffee cup filled with something that Zuko put in to make it more enjoyable. And, well, one of them got curious and wanted to take a sip. As Zuko sees this, he immediately rushed towards them, pushed them off, making them hit the wall, and grabbing the cup and filling it back up with the coffee mug as he put it down and said, "Okay, Manila, correct?" As Manila kind of like shakes his head as he saying, "Ow, that really hurts." Zuko explained, "That is our lifesaver. If he did not have that coffee in this time, we would have seen him in a much grumpy mood. Don't touch it." As Aizawa comes in and sees this little interaction, and his coffee mug is a little too close, as he grabbed onto it and took a sip, he looks away, kind of squinting that it tastes a little off, but ignore it and drink the rest. And Zuko went back to his seat, which some of them see how serious this little interaction really is. Going off after Aizawa takes his coffee mug and finish it, he tells everybody, "All right, we have to do something else. You guys have to choose," as he's drinking another cup, not really paying attention to his class at all, said, "You must choose for your class president and vice president," as he leaves the classroom and telling them you decide on how, as he went out and just took one more sip. Everybody is discussing on how they're going to do it. They say, "I should do it, I should do it, no, I should do it. I'm stronger, no, I'm better, as Bakugo come by." And being the loudest of them all, he tried to threaten the more powerful ones, basically Todoroki and Zuko, to not say anything. He's gonna take the spot, and no other weaklings is gonna take it. Which now it's a little loud and it's getting more riled up. Which Ida announced a question. He went up to the front and tell everybody to be quiet. How about we do a vote? And whoever has the most votes, we chose them. As everybody is in agreement, but one person. He does not want to answer or do any of this. He's saying that he should do it. He's a great leader. He's more powerful. He's the best. Which most of them said, "But are you though? You're not really. If you think you're the best, I think you're going to win, aren't you?" Which Baku said, "Yeah, I am going to win. I'll show you." As he make a vote and put it in. Everybody put their votes, put it in, and the president is Zuko, and he saves out the names that who voted for him, which was Kirishima, Sero, Momo, and Todoroki, which he got 4 votes, more than everybody else. And then the next person came up was Ira. He voted himself, and Zuko voted for him, which he was a little surprised that he got this position, and he promised to Zuko that he'll be the best vice president as he can for this class, which is Zuko said, "Dude, calm down." which Ida said, "I will try my best to calm down." As the robots walk towards his seat, sitting down and try to be quiet. He said, he's going to give me a fucking headache. Alright, I'll call. He looks up at his time on his phone, said, by the looks of it, it's almost time for lunch. And by assuming that Aizawa have already left for his lunch break. So, yeah, it's lunchtime, guys. We can go on now. As he leaves the classroom for his lunch. Everybody else leave. Todoroki catch up with him, and Momo tags along. And they get in line, they get their food, they sit down. Todoroki sitting right next to him, and Momo sitting right in front of him. And then everybody else that he fought against, and most of them are just talking, asking how Zuko's so, you. And Zuko said, I'm gonna take that as a compliment. And the reason why I'm like this is because, well, my father, he's very close to this building itself. And they see him being very vague about it, so they ask more questions about his family. Which Zuko kind of like, well, that's personal, and you do not have the right to ask me that. With that said, as he eats some of his raw meat, which some of them say, "Oh, dude, you actually eat that thing? Is it like not cooked?" And Zuko said, "Yep. Sadly, for my quirk, I had to eat something that's more on the raw side than anything." Which they ask more about his quirk, which Zuko kind of like pushed Todoroki, which Todoroki said, "What?" Which now everybody realized that Todoroki is there because they were more focused on Zuko and his quirk. But since Todoroki's there, they ask about his quirk. They saw him using his fire for the coffee mug, and then they saw him using his ice. So they asked him, "What kind of quirk is that? Is it like temperature control?" And he said, "No, my quirk is called half and half hot, half cold." As he answered this as he's eating his cold soba, they ask about his scar, and he just said, "It's something that happened. It doesn't really matter," as he keeps eating. Now everybody answered their own questions on saying that, "I'm Sero, I have tape for arms. The tape, I can pull out tape from my my elbows, and they're very durable," as he tries ask anybody to tear it off, which some people do and they can't. He gave one to Zuko, and Zuko just ripped it off like it was simple, which surprised Sero, but everybody just thinks that he's just a little more stronger than he likes to be. Kirishima came by and said that his quirk is hardening. He can make his whole body harden for a certain amount of time, and most of his body parts too. Zuko is very interested by this and asks him more questions about it. Does it need any nutrients nor a physical harm to actually make it stronger? Which is Kirishima is very happy to say that none of that needs to be happening. To happen for him, since his quirk is only relying on his energy and how strong he needs to be. Momo was given a question on what's her quirk and how does it work. She explained it, and Zuko knew all of this about this. And then others asked more questions. Moving on to the next scene, that everybody's in classroom and they're waiting on Aizawa, and Aizawa tells them that they're going on a trip to go to a building called the USJ. He explained what this is and tells everybody to go onto their bus. they get to the bus, everybody's getting lined up and getting to their area. Everybody's talking and, well, disgusting, but I think this was like a different, yeah. I just couldn't find the correct picture. Anyway, they discussed and talked to, well, Bakugo being all loud and saying all this crap, which Kaminari gave him the line of, we just met you like 5 days ago and we can already tell you're just a piece of crap. A loudmouth piece of crap. Which some of them chuckled and Suyu agreed. They asked about Zuko more and they came up with a topic on who's the strongest 3 or 5 top strongest in their class. And they all say obviously it's Zuko first, then maybe, as Baku will say, Bakugo, I'm the strongest. Which they say no, you're like more of a third, maybe fourth, as they say Todoroki is second, Ida is third, and then Bakugo. Which Bakugo did not like this answer at all, and tried to throw some hands towards Zuko. But that's when the bus stopped instantly, pushing this Bakugo back into his seat. Aizawa tells everybody to get off. They're here for the USJ and they're meeting with Zero. Or Black Hole. I'm not sure which one was her name. Yes, it's a her. Uraraka is very excited as Zuko just notices that she's very excited for her. And say, is she like your favorite hero? As Uraraka kind of stutters and says, yeah, she does deal with space and all that, and my quirk is like space, and yeah. And she's very happy to talk about her quirk in a very light-hearted way. Zuko said, oh, I see. As he looks in, waves and said hi to Black Hole, I guess. I'm not sure her name. As she waves back and say, oh, hi Zuko. I didn't know you were getting into school today. As Zuko said, yeah, sorry, I didn't tell you. Which that little interaction happens, and they're thinking, does he like know everybody in UA or just the teachers? And they're like curious about how he knows this. As Ila asked him about it, which Zuko said in due time. But sorry for disrupting your class, but let's start the lesson. As she does, explaining all the things that how quirks can be very dangerous if you're using it in a very dangerous way. It could be Light and more. On to that subject, that the USJ will help you guys to learn to control and use it in other ways other than just going against the bad guys. As she was taking in, the doors start to close slowly. And right when it clap on, they feel a disturbance in the force. Zuko notices this and looks over to Aizawa and asks Aizawa if anybody else is meant to be here. As he was about to say no, Kirishima said, cool, we're gonna fight villains during all of this? As Aizawa looks towards Kirishima and then back down where he's looking, sees a portal coming out and a bunch of villains coming out. Which Aizawa tells them all that this is not a drill, these are real villains, get back to the bus. As Black Hole... Space? Yeah, don't know. Can't remember her name. Her hero name. As Aizawa went down on the stairs, and Zuko, being the president, tells everybody to huddle and be safe and just wait for and get to the bus. When they try to open the door, they can't. It's getting a little hard. The portal guy forgot his name, came by and tried to mess with them. Kirishima and Bakugo threw a bunch of punches and explosions towards him, and nothing's happened. Instead, they were getting encased by the portal itself. Zuko, taking this chance, looks around, remembering that Ida is the fastest. He grabs onto Ida as much as he can, pull him towards the doors. As he's flying towards it, Zuko punches it through with his tail, going straight through, making enough gap for where Ida is able to get through. He tried to get more people through, but sadly they were all taken by the portals, as well as he did. Coming out of the portal, everybody spread out, and Zuko's falling, free falling down into the sky, from the sky. He looks over to his right and everywhere else, and he sprout out his wings. They're more partially damaged, but you can see that they are wings at the very beginning, which Suyu tried to grab onto him as she's falling for it'd be a safe just to know where he is, but Suyu fall into the water as well as Manila. Suyu during this time felt the vibrations and went towards Manila first. Zuko is still somewhat floating, but since he was looking for Suyu and Manila, he got blasted with a force of water, like a water hose from a fire department, their hoses, which pushed him back and made him feel heavier. And he felt a huge pain in the back that he never felt before, not since with the doctors. And he started to fall down into the water. He made a huge splash as he discontinued his quirk to make it turn off. He looks around that he's in water. He decided to bring back his wings right back out to make him fly out. But right when he did that, he felt the huge sheer pain of needles going into his back, all throughout his wings, all of it. Every single opening that's in there is like putting salt in a open wound that's showing blood. That kind of pain throughout his whole body, especially his wings. And he is screaming in the water, so much so that some villains have found him and they were about to attack. Zuko, still in the pain, it retracts his wings, but brought out his armor and just prepare himself to get hit by any of their attacks. One got him and then a huge energy push of the wave of the water itself towards Zuko, pushing him and trying to rattle him up. By this point, Suyu finally found him, knocked the villain away, grabbed onto him with her tongue, and took him over to the battle, the sinking ship. As she gets back on, and she's kind of breathing heavily, which Zuko was still screaming. But after he got out and just shake whatever filth or water that was on him, he took it off. He finally took off his jacket or cape, which is now showing a black t-shirt, handcuffs, a pants, and some has ankle bracelets on there too. Which Zuko is just kind of breathing heavy, spitting out all the water that he had in his lungs. And still have time. Great. Oh dang. Oh crap! I didn't stop it. Oh well. Now Zuko, after his moment, he looks over to them and asks them if they're okay and if they're safe. Which Manila is crying through talking through his tears and his crying that they're all gonna die. They're gonna be captured. They're gonna be killed by these villains. Which Suyu slapped him across the face, and she says, "Yeah, we're fine." But these villains are very and prepared to kill us, and she's not sure how to work with this. Which Izuku looks over and just pat her on the head and said, "It's gonna be okay. We'll find a way." But Suyu kind of blushes by this point and asks Izuku, "Oh, why is he patting her head?" Which Izuku said, "It's the best way to calm you down." Which Suyu appreciates and says, "So, how are we gonna take down these? How to escape this area?" Suku finally thought of things as he finally dried out his outfit, put it back on. Suyu was looking at Mineta for a moment, but when she looked back, she saw just a small of skin, just a small bout, and the muscles that were showing gave her a slight blush. He put his shirt back on as he looks over and tells them to get on. They Mineta is like, "Oh, what? What do you mean?" Zuko said, "Just get on." Never mind. As he grabs onto Mineta on one arm, and he grabs onto Suyu and saying, "Excuse me," as he grabs onto her around her waist. They are asking, what are you doing?" As he spread out his wings, this time focusing, making sure it's all out. To them, it looks like this, that it's just a flaming wings coming out of him. But for Zuko, it's all natural and doesn't hurt. As he's starting to flap his wings and flying above, some of the villains are cursing this and trying to throw out more. The one villain that knocked him out of the sky is preparing to do another one, which is Zuko to ask Mineta to throw his balls towards that very villain and all the others. As he does, without thinking of any questioning, Zuko starts to actually throw some of his feathers straight down into the water, making ripples and waves about it, to a point where the balls start to float towards the villains, which the villains get stuck by, and, well, there's a few clumps of villains stuck to each other with these balls. And the main guy that was about to shoot Zuko was stuck by it and used his quirk on accident against them, forcing and making a somewhat of a wave, huge waves in the pool itself, basically making everybody get stuck again. Izuku, taking this chance, is taking all the way towards where he can barely see Aizawa fighting against this huge creature. And Aizawa is starting to get beaten down because of a tag team and worry about everybody else, which Zuko is starting to get mad about. And Zuko tells them to protect Aizawa when they get down, which is Aizawa is now getting beaten down by this huge monster. Zuko, after the second grabbing Aizawa and pushing him down into the ground, Zuko finally just let go of Suyu and Mineta, and just high enough where they can, recover the fall. But Zuko is flying straight towards the Nomu, pushing it off, and asking Aizawa if he's okay, which Aizawa is responding but not opening up his eyes, which Zuko tells Suyu and Mineta to take Aizawa into a safer area over in the dark alley, which they do, but they ask what Zuko's gonna be doing, and Zuko said, "I'm gonna give this huge creature a beatdown." He took his wings back in, he wrapped around his two arms in this huge armor-like tail, and egg on the very creature onto another fight, which the creature hears Shirogane telling him to fight him or kill that kid, which the Nomu had to apply. Which the Nomu took the first punch, Zuko blocked it and did a huge hit towards the monster itself on its guts, but it's withstanding the whole thing, which Zuko's surprised about, but kept reading his movements during the fight. A few blows on here, on there, and it's not giving much effect. Zuko decides to do some martial arts and hit the weak points. And the weak points are effective for a second, and then he got hit outside, like out of nowhere from the back by this creature again, pushing him away from the creature. Zuko is a little pissed by this and starts to grow out. He's trying his best to grow. This is the one thing that Nezu been trying to teach him to do, to bring out the other two of his abilities out at the same time. And Zuko is trying his best, and it's giving him a huge amount of pain. Mm, I say the pain is like pulling off your finger. Well, pulling your finger off to a point where it feels like it's gonna come off. That's how it feels, bringing out another tail. And when he finally did, some blood is dripping off of his tail itself, and his skin on the back is somewhat rough to the edges. The Nomu did not care. He is still going straight, running towards Zuko. Zuko just gave a second to do this, gave him a great amount of pain that he kind of passed out for that second. And when he finally awakened, he saw the Nomu huge fist going straight at him. And Zuko, with this moment, dodged out of the way completely. No body is touching it. He grabbed onto the Nomu's arm, pulled it down into the ground, and Zuko gave this momentum, whip around with his tail and kind of cutting into the Nomu itself, under its armpit, and cutting into the very veins or muscles that was making the arm to function correctly. As it goes down and Zuko backs away, trying to harden his tail to a T to make it way stronger, Zuko looks over and sees that the Nomu itself is regrowing the parts that he got cut on. Zuko thinks, oh, sorry, I just saw a cat fight, like actual cats fighting against each other. Anyway, back into the story. Zuko thinks, oh, you son of a bitch. Alright, here we go. He get himself down into all fours and his eyes start to change into a reddish color. His eyes, the white part turning black, his green eyes turning red. As he gets into that kind of position, he starts charging at him in all fours, using the momentum itself, pushing the very Nomu back into the center where everybody else is, all the other villains are. And by this point, Aizawa finally awakens and asks where Zuko is and where is the monster. As they point over, seeing Zuko getting on all fours, thinking, this is serious. He tells them all to get back. He's gonna take whatever he's gonna fight against more of these. As they say, don't, he told us to take care of you. As Aizawa tells them that he is the teacher and you are the students, so get back down and be safe. As he jump into the fight, instead of fighting against the Nomu, that he sees that Zuko is taking care of this, he's taking care of all the other smaller villains itself until the backup finally comes. Zuko is going against this huge monster, this whole huge creature, and now Shiraki is explaining that this is a cheat code. He is the final boss. He is meant to kill All Might. And Zuko said, he thinks all this because of him. I told Nezu not to hire him. Oof. Alright, what should I do? What can I do? Can I? No, that would be too much. I know I'm going to get a huge. I hate this so much. As Shiraki said, he was built. I made this creature just to beat All Might, and we're finally about to do it. Which Shizuku thinks, made, built. I can use this. Alright. As he gets back onto all fours and readied his attack, instead of having his armor up, he's bringing out his tails. At first, it was 2, and then he brings out more, bringing out all 4. And he's getting angry by all of this, seeing that, remembering how all of this started from the very beginning of all of his classmates being taken and separated, his feeling, the pain and feeling in the water, and then Aizawa, his favorite teacher, being beaten down by this creature, and he's getting so pissed that his tails start to glow red all over, and it's giving off great amount of heat to a point where it burns off his shirt and somewhat of his pants, and it's showing the ankles and the bracelets that's on him, and they're starting to melt off, and Zuko decides to, none, that's enough, as he ripped off the bracelets and his ankle weights, and they were heavy. He threw them out of the way and making huge dust clouds, and making a covering, a shadow covering, where he seemingly disappeared, but the Nomu knows where he is and dashed for him, being told to kill this kid. And Zuko and Shiraki, to his surprise, saw his Nomu getting flown back, passing him into a building and crashing onto it, making him an indent or even a figure shape of the monster on the other side. Zuko is now on his all fours and kind of growling in an animalitious way, basically running towards the Nomu with his tails all whipping and flashing everywhere against each and every single villain that's close. And when it gets to Shiraki tried to basically make it disappear with his quirk. But when they grab onto it, it burns his fingers, his very hand, and making his quirk not work completely. It made a imprint of his hand, but that's it. The heat of the very tails basically burned his hand, and he pulled it back, screaming and crying that kid burned him. Burned me. Nomu, attack and kill that thing. I said kill him. As the Nomu gets back up, some shatter of glass are in his back and somewhere on his arms. And Zuko sees these, and they're just being pushed back as his wounds are about to heal, and thinks he has the same thing as mine. He should not be touching any blood. What's the best way to kill him? As he's getting more frustrated by this, he's pushing back everything, every single ability, every single fiber of his muscles. He is fighting against this being, this huge Nomu. And Zuko finally decides to pull back his 2 tails as he's fighting against the Nomu with his fists and the tails. And the Nomu is just fighting back with just 2 arms, so he's taking care of it. It's exhausting, but he needed to focus on this point. He focused his 2 tails onto each other, putting them together, making them merge into a swirl. And he's just thinking, that won't work. No, that won't work. As he thinks, the head. And that's the perfect area. As he swirls his tails and as he finally comes back and wait for the Nomu to charge at him, by this moment, and Zuko is getting ready for his tail to puncture into this Nomu's head. Right there, he hears banging of the doors cracking open and All Might flying into seeing the situation and seeing Aizawa going against these villains, going into the center and seeing the main man looking towards the fight of Zuko and the Nomu. And the Nomu is dashing towards Zuko, which Zuko is just waiting for the perfect moment. When the Nomu finally gets up into the sky, about to crush onto Zuko, All Might took the chance and did a huge Detroit smash into the Nomu's face, killing it at that moment. Zuko sees this flash of speed coming by him, pulling him off guard, so he readied his armor up on his left arm. It gave him a lot of pain and blood was coming out of it as well, but just enough to realize that All Might was the one that did the final blow. As the Nomu is laying there, not moving an inch, Zuko tells All Might to get ready. I'm not sure if that you took him down or not. As All Might said, "Young man, we're not supposed to kill the villains." As Zuko said, "All Might, that thing was meant to kill you." I'm not sure how, but they are able to put more quirks into this very creature. And it's getting back up, as it's starting to stand up, but Zuko took this chance and whipped his tail around and slicing his head right off. Finally killing it, making it fall down, and Zuko grab onto the very creature's head and start crushing it, making sure that it doesn't move at all. No way of surviving. Which All Might is punch Zuko out of the way, telling him we are not supposed to kill the villains. As Zuko is hit back into the wall. Now Aizawa sees all of this and tells All Might to don't fight against Zuko, fight against the heroes, the villains. And Zuko, he finally turns his quirk down. He's calming down, and he sees how this might look, and he just tells All Might, "I don't care anymore. Get them before they," as they disappeared, leaving everybody there, leaving all of the villains behind. And Zuko is so tired that he just sit back down, retract his tails, and put his try to look for his hoodie, which he remembers is over in the water section. So he just sit down, crisscross, and just taking a breather, which All Might and is taking down all the other villains. There were just about 3 left, and then went over to each and every zone, and making sure that everybody was safe. They have taken down each and every of their villains, and just getting back into the center. Which All Might finally have the police, the heroes, getting there. Zuko is just sitting there and just tired and silent. He is watching the one thing, making sure it's not moving, and has not been moving at all. Which All Might and the rest of the cops were being taken and saying, he killed that thing. Which Zuko said, "Yeah, I did." And which Zuko was prepared to fight again. And All Might was really prepared to fight. He has a very bad feeling about this kid, and he does not like it. Which now, Aizawa finally gets up, push All Might out of the way, and say, "You don't get to do that. I know him. I know Zuko. He will never kill anybody without a reason. And let him speak before you judge." As he finally turns around and asks Zuko, "Why did you feel the need to kill this thing?" Zuko explained everything. That main person, the one that gave him, he still has his tail out, because when it goes back in, it's gone. He shows them that guy was able to hurt my tail. My tail is indestructible. But somehow that man was able to make an indent on my tail, as it showed some fingerprints and a hand indent of it, which he tells the cops to make a copy and take off the fingerprints, as they do. And he tells them, as he was fighting against the creature itself, that man was calling it a nomu. And he was talking about built, made, meant to destroy or kill All Might. Which All Might is a little surprised that he really meant that it was meant to kill him. But he thinks it's too weak to do such a thing. But Zuko explained, as he said, that he cut a few areas of the monster on his weak points, on his armpits, his shoulder blades, anywhere that has ligaments that's impossible to grow back or even fix. But that thing was able to grow it back. Not perfectly. Not perfectly. If you look back, I will tell you every puncture, every slice I made, as it grows right back with no skin. As he names these very areas as the officer takes each note, shows All Might as All Might went back to the creature, and it shows each and every area. His skin is purple, but the area that grew back is red. And All Might is starting to believe this kid. But Zuko explained the only spot that I could think of to these cops and Aizawa that could not regrow no matter what was the brain. And I was getting ready to kill it. But that's when All Might came in. As All Might explained what he saw. And Aizawa said, you know, we had to tell your father this, right? And Zuko said, I know. I'm ready for it. Which All Might said, his father, oh, right, to punish him for such a thing. And Aizawa said, no. All of the kids are already taken all the way to school and being taken care of. No one is there but those three. And Aizawa tell him his father is Nezu. All Might said, oh, I'm very sorry. Please do not fire me. I need this job. And he tried to explain what's going on. Zuko said, I do not control what he does, but I do know what he thinks. If he thought you were a good teacher for his school, I have no power against you. I have no choice to say anything about you. So please do not say that who my father is in front of the classmates or anybody. Nezu already told all of the teachers, and they know not to say anything. Now, after that whole ordeal, Nezu finally came out to everybody and told them that they're going to get a week off. 2 weeks off, before they can beef up security and everything. And Zuko was asked by Nezu to come to his office after school after this classroom, before they can discuss on your punishment. Which Zuko said, I know, of course. And which Aizawa told everybody that that's it for the class, so get lost or get home. He's kind of pissed. Everybody gets moving, but Momo thinks on asking for everybody's numbers she can make a group chat. It would be best if everybody gets to talk to each other during this time and help out with like homework and stuff, which everybody agrees and does this. Todoroki said, yeah, I'll just give you Zuko's number. His number is this, and so on. Which Momo put it down on favorites and in the group chat. Now, moving on to the next scene, Zuko. is in the office, sitting down. All Might is in the office, sitting down. And Nezu is in the office, standing up on his chair. And he asks, "So, do you know why I brought you here?" Zuko looks around, saying, "So I'm guessing my punishment is no coffee for a week and double the training." Nezu said, "Yes, you can go now." And Zuko said, "Okay, but why is he here?" And All Might asked, well, you see, it's kind of like, as Nezu said, he is here to apologize. And Zuko said, "Oh, okay, I forgive you. Please don't talk about this again. Uh, oh, Nezu, there's one more thing. He's He is waiting for All Might to leave, but All Might decides to stay. And Nezu doesn't really care that All Might's staying. He can do whatever he wants. Not exactly everything, but he doesn't mind. As Zuko asks, is he not gonna leave? As Nezu said, no, I'll let him stay. What you want? What you want to tell me? And Zuko said, I learned another weakness from my quirk. Which Nezu said, oh, to and what is your weakness? Is it today? He's very curious. I'm very curious on what that is. Zuko said, when I turn on my quirk in or on water, I start to feel the pain again. Which Nezu said, oh, I see. That's very interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna cancel that double the training. We're gonna focus on that point. You do understand why. And Zuko said, yeah, I know. But can I just get, like, can I like get one coffee of my favorite? You know, just to prepare myself for this training? And so, well, Nello said, I'll ask one of your classmates. If they say what you should do during the break, I will allow it. And Zuko said, I guess no coffee, as he walks away into his room. All Might is just standing there looking how they they behave each other, and they think, and Nezu, but as Nezu looks at him, said, yes, what do you like to ask? And All Might ask, are you guys like really related? As he just looks back and forth at Nezu and Zuko, just the door, back and forth, like very confused. And Nezu said yes. He does not seem like it, but we came from the same same way of life. Which All Might said, I don't get what you mean. Like, is he like an animal too, or is Nezu said he would experiment? All Might said, oh, like how you in. Nezu said, no, worse. Look up the name Midoriya's, and you shall know the rest. Which All Might said, oh, thank you, Nezu. I'm gonna go and as he pushed back the chair and left. Which Nezu remembers the time that Zuko was against everything, and now he actually gave a smile for one of the first times outside of home, outside of food and coffee, but for his friends. And that, well, I'll move on to another scene. In the weekend, Nezu finally talked to one of his friends, and he say Kirishima, asking him about Zuko and what you think of him. And Kirishima say all these great things and nothing bad about him. He said that he did get hit by him once and that really hurt, but that was just because of training, not anything bad. Which Nezu said, okay, great, you can go on. And for your honest answer, I'll give you a passing grade on one of your preserve tests, which Kirishima is very happy about because he is one of the stupid ones. So he takes everything he can get. Moving on. I have 1 hour. Should I? What time? 10. Yeah, I'll do it. No, I'll set it up for the next area. Now, moving on, about a week has passed. It's getting close to the weekend. Actually, it's on Friday. And Momo decided to ask everybody on the group chat, and Zuko was notified by Toroki that he gave his number to Momo for this group chat thing, which he gets a notification saying that she's gonna throw out a party in her home and would love to have everybody be there, as well as some of the teachers from class from UA, which they very happily do. And Momo said, "Oh, and bring some swimming clothes," which they all are very excited about. And Zuko said, this whole week he is going through the pain of swimming, drowning with his quirk on, with the least of feelings, which is the armor, to his tails and then his wings, which felt the most pain. He is still feeling the pain after getting out and shaking off the water. But he decided to do it because that's basically for his whole classmates. And it seems like fun, so he decided to go. Now everybody is just talking about, well, basically anything and everything when they get there. They weren't told to wear very dressy, they just were told to wear casual or normal clothing. So they did. But Zuko, Kirishi, and Toroki, as well as Ida, came by wearing suits because they weren't. They didn't read the text message fast enough, so they came by impressing everybody on how nicely they are dressed. And of course, one person is not there, and that's Bakugo. He's decided to train throughout all of this. Now, everybody else enjoys their time, having food, party, kind of like partying in a certain area of Momo's house. And everybody was surprised on how big her house is. But 3 people are not surprised. Anyway, moving on. Yeah. Momo told everybody that the pool for the swimming, she asked everybody about their swimming clothes, and they all brought out a bag for it. And Momo dragged them to the pool that's for everybody. And it's basically a normal pool for everybody to have fun. And it was meant to hold around 100 people. It's almost like a huge Olympic pool, but half size, just to make it easier. After all of that, everybody changed, and the guys went out with their clothes. And Zuko looks very, very nice in his outfit, where some of the guys are jealous on his figure, so much so. Now, the girls are getting ready. They are in swimsuits, the proper, that's meant for the beach kind of stuff. And when they finally came out, one by one, the guys are staring, all of them, but two. Zuko just looks over and then looks away. And Todoroki looks over and not even staring. He's just looking. And she's starting to blush, and everybody, all the other girls, kind of have the same reaction. And then the last girl, Momo, when she finally came out, uh, this is the only proper one I'm going to show. But she came out in a red bikini, red top, red bottom, and she looks over to the ones that's more important. She looks over to Todoroki, and he kind of said, "Oh, red looks good on you, I guess." But she was more interested on what Zuko was going to say, and she did not hear anything what he said. Instead, she was looking straight at his abs and some of his scarring, but more on his whole body. And she was so hypnotized that Zuko had to snap at her fingers and ask her, "Oh, so what should we do?" And she said, "Oh, right. I guess let's just have fun and enjoy the time in the pool." Which all of them agrees and jump in. There are some mishaps. Some things happen where if someone gets too close to Todoroki one side, they feel like that the water is boiling. If they get to the other side of him, they feel like they're in a glacier. Same thing with, well, Denki, Kaminari. When they get too close, they start to feel shock. Somewhat of an electric field around them, and whatever metal piece they touch, basically the edge of the pool, they get a huge shock. So they start to get a little bit far away from those areas. But Zuko just, during this time, chose to do training. He asked Momo if she has like any weights around. As she said, sorry, but this is a party. We don't have weights here right now. Zuko said, "Oh, okay. Not to be, well, rude, but can you make some weights for me?" Which Momo said, "I can, but why do you need weights? It's just a party to enjoy." And Zuko said, I get that. I really do. But not to dampen on the party or all of this, which I must say, it's very nice of you to do such a thing. It really helps the class on relaxing and becoming more of a class, more like friends. Which Momo said, "Oh, thank you. It was no big deal. I just thought it would be like a chance for us to party and enjoy ourselves." Which Zuko said, "Yeah, yeah. But I'm using this time to train, and I need to train on waterworks. So if you don't mind, I will like repay you in another time on whatever you want. But right now, can you like make a 50-pound weight at least?" Which she said, "Yeah, excuse me," as she kind of slightly turned away, but not enough. And Zuko looks over, just interested on how her creation quirk works, as she pulled out the 50-pound weight out of her stomach. And some of it kind of came over around the upper part of her chest, which kind of undo the bow that was tying her melons, god damn it, together. It untied. Zuko just looks over, and Momo, after getting the weight up, kind of cover herself because she saw what happened. And she looks over to Zuko and kind of blush a bit as she put the weight back on, back crossing her arms. And Zuko say, "Is something wrong?" As he tried to grab for the weights, but she thought he was grabbing out for something else, and kind of like a squeal back. And Zuko said, "Is something wrong? I would like to have the weight at least." And Momo said, "Oh, uh, yeah." She tried to do this weird one-handed 50-pounder to one side, and her arm covered. And Zuko said, "Oh, I see. You can put it down. I'll look away." As he looks away, and she ties up the very part, said, "Ahem." As Zuko turns around, said, "Oh, all right." As he grabs onto the weight, as he picks it up, saying, "Oh, it's a little heavier than I thought." And Momo kind of chuckles, said, "Yeah." The whole time in her head, she accidentally made a 75-pounder instead of a 50-pounder. And Zuko, she, well, spaced out for that moment, did not see until some water splashed on her, that Zuko jumped into the pool with the weight around him. Now he's in the pool, holding his breath, and just have a weight around him. So that was interesting for everybody to just see him doing that and questioning why. And Ida is very impressed by this little thing and asks everybody if they would like to train since this pool is big enough to do. And everybody said no. Which Ida said, "Well, how about a race then?" And the girl said, "No, we'll just have fun, but we'll be happy to judge." Which Ela said, "Okay, so who here likes to race?" As most of the guys said, "Yeah, we'll race." They went down and tried to pick up Zuko, but Zuko is not budging. Most they did the first 3 races, and it was very interesting about how they did it. And Zuko, during this commotion, decided to get up and ask what's going on. The girls explained what's going on, and Zuko said, "Huh, yeah, I'll race." Which some of them are very happy to see. That means they're going to see more of his skills in the water. And he finally gets in, and it'll be the final 3 of Ida, Todoroki, and Zuko. As they start their match, Momo said 3, 2, 1, go! As Zuko, Todoroki, and Ida get in the water and start swimming, going from one lap all the way towards the other side, back, and then one more time going on the end where Momo is. As they were very close together, but Zuko pushed ahead every single lap to a point where he wins. Some of them saying that he's cheating, that he only did this once, but everybody else didn't care and just say he's the winner for the match. And, well, the rest of the day was fun like that. Going back into the whole week has passed and they're getting into class. Everybody's now more happy, close to each other, but Bakugo is just, he has to talk to some of them and realize the party was a pool party. And he's kind of wishing that he went, but he was more focused on training. But now they're being told that one more day will pass, and the next tomorrow, basically, it'll be the sports festival. And all this other stuff about the smaller details. And as they were leaving class by this point, and everybody's getting real close to each other, one last person, they're being blocked by class 1B, C, D, all of those, on to checking out the competition and saying that they're no a big deal, they're just regular people. As Zuko tried to move out of the way, he sees that they're blocking the exits and asking them, Either you move or I'll use my quirk. And Zuko, for once, getting a little more serious. And they say, you will never use your quirk against us. That will be un-hero-like. And Zuko said, you're right. I will never use it on you. As he sprout out two tails, climbing the walls all the way up because it's so tall, and start climbing over them. As most of them are shocked, surprised on how useful that quirk is, as he gets back down on the other side and start walking away for lunch. As everybody else starts to use their quirks, not hesitating by this point, leaving, and well, somewhat shocking everybody else, and some of them are helping each other, just going over it. By this point, the crowd thinks this is no point and leaves because they're getting hungry too. Moving on the next day, they're in the stadium, well, in the class changing room, and they're changing into their outfits more for, well, into their gym uniforms. And well, as they're finally leaving, getting back together again in one single area, Zuko was approached by Bakugo, and Bakugo explained that he's gonna declare war on Zuko and Icy Hot. Zuko looks over and said, that's kind of funny. That's kind of, I think, the first time actually chuckles. Which Bakugo is somewhat pissed, but at least sees a sense of humor in his nicknames. And you, Fox, as Zuko said, Fox? What the? No, you four-tailed fox. You will face my wrath. As he walks away to go to the center. Which Zuko said, I mean, it's, I guess, good. I mean, I don't have four. As everybody starts to gather around in the area. And that's, my friends, I'm gonna end. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Sorry for taking forever, but I hope this helps. So, bye.